Hello everyone and welcome back. Have you ever read a paragraph and thought, I understand the words, but I do not understand what the author really means? Well, if that has happened to you, let me tell you this, you are not alone. Many students actually struggle with reading not because they cannot read the words, but because the author does not always state everything directly. Sometimes the author gives clues and the reader has to figure out the meaning. That skill is called making inference. This skill is very important because inference questions often appear in college reading assignments, quizzes, exams, and tests. So you may see questions such as what can be inferred from the paragraph or what does the author suggest? To answer those questions correctly, you must know how to use evidence from the text. In today's lesson, we're going to study how inferences work in paragraphs. You will learn how to make logical inferences, avoid illogical inferences, connect pronouns to their antecedents, infer main ideas, and understand supporting details more deeply. By the end of this lesson, you will have a simple 3-step method for making strong inferences. Find the clues, which is look for the words, details, examples, transitions, and repeated ideas that the author gives you. Step 2, connect the evidence. Ask how the clues work together and what larger meaning they suggest. And step 3, test your conclusion. Make sure your inference is supported by the paragraph and does not go beyond the evidence. To make this lesson easier, I want you to think of yourself as a detective. A detective does not solve a case by guessing. A detective studies the clues, connects the evidence, and reaches a conclusion that makes sense. That is exactly what strong readers do. When you read, the paragraph is the case. The words, details, examples, and transitions are the clues. Your job is to use those clues to understand what the author suggests but does not directly state. Here's the key idea for today's lesson. No evidence, no inference. If the text doesn't support your conclusion, then your conclusion is not a strong inference. Now, the first question you will ask yourself is, Doctor, what is an inference? An inference is a conclusion based on evidence. It is when you use what is stated to understand what is not directly stated. For example, imagine you walk into a classroom. The students are quiet, their phones are put away, they have pencils on their desk, the professor is passing out papers. Nobody says, we're about to take a test, but you can infer it. Why? Because the clues point to that conclusion. The quiet room, the pencils, the paper, and the student's behavior all work as evidence. Reading works the same way. Writers often leave some ideas unstated because they expect readers to infer them. So, when you make an inference, you are not guessing randomly. You are making an educated conclusion based on clues. Remember, no evidence, no inference. A logical inference is an inference that is supported by the text. A logical inference fits the evidence. Let's look at an example.
Maria opened her notebook, reviewed her flashcards, and highlighted the chapter summary. She took a deep breath as the professor placed the exam on her desk.
What can we infer? Well, we can infer that Maria prepared for the exam. We can also infer that she may be nervous. But what are the clues? She has a notebook. She reviews flashcards. She highlights the chapter summary. She takes a deep breath when the exam arrives. So those details support the evidence. This is what a good reader does. Like a detective, a reader asks, what conclusion does the evidence support? A logical inference must fit the author's words, topic, the context, and the supporting details. Now that you know what a logical inference is, let's look at the opposite, an illogical inference. An illogical inference is an inference that is not supported by the text. This happens when readers rely too much on personal opinions, assumptions, or experiences instead of evidence. Let's look at the same example.
Maria opened her notebook, reviewed her flashcards, and highlighted the chapter summary. She took a deep breath as the professor placed the exam on her desk.
An illogical inference would be, Maria hates the professor. Why is that illogical? Well, because nothing in the paragraph supports that idea. The paragraph shows that Maria is preparing for an exam and may feel nervous. It does not show that she dislikes the professor. This is an important reading lesson. Just because something could be true does not mean the text supports it. A strong reader always asks, what evidence proves my inference? If the answer is nothing, then as simple as that, the inference is probably illogical. Again, remember this: no evidence, no inference. Now that we know the difference between logical and illogical inferences, let's look at where readers actually use inferences inside a paragraph. Inferences are not used only once in a while. Readers actually use them constantly. Readers may need to infer the meaning of a word, the connection between sentences, the main idea of a paragraph, the author's attitude, the relationship between details, or the noun that a pronoun refers to. This means inference is not just one isolated reading skill. It is part of almost everything that we do when we read. Remember the detective analogy. Every sentence may contain a clue. Some clues are obvious, others are hidden. Strong readers know how to notice both. One common inference readers make is connecting pronouns to their antecedents. An antecedent is a noun that a pronoun refers to. For example, Robert Lafayette was a reform politician. He fought for political change. The pronoun he refers to Robert Lafayette. The writer does not explain that connection directly. The reader must infer it. This may seem easy, but it becomes very important when reading textbook paragraphs. Sometimes a topic sentence uses a pronoun instead of repeating the topic. For example,
at one time, the right side of the brain was considered less important than the left side. However, it has its own special abilities.
What does it refer to? It refers to the right side of the brain. So, if you're taking notes, do not write. It has its own special abilities. That note may confuse you later. Instead, write, the right side of the brain has its own special abilities. Here is the strategy. When a topic sentence uses a pronoun, replace the pronoun with the noun it refers to. This makes your notes clearer, more specific, and easier to study later. As a reader detective, do not let pronouns hide the real subject of the sentence. Identify who or what the pronoun refers to. Sometimes the main idea is directly stated in one sentence. That sentence is called the topic sentence, and we have already learned that. But not every paragraph gives you the main idea so clearly. Sometimes the main idea is divided across two or more sentences. When this happens, the reader must piece the ideas together. Think again about the detective. One clue may not solve the whole case. The detective may need to combine several clues before reaching the correct conclusion. Readers do the same thing. For example,
pirate attacks have created serious danger for ships traveling near Somalia. One company has developed a magnetic acoustic device that can warn pirates and produce painful sound levels if they continue approaching.
The main idea is not stated in one simple sentence. We need to combine the problem and the solution. A good main idea statement would be, a magnetic acoustic device may help protect ships from pirate attacks. That sentence combines the important parts of the paragraph into one clear statement. So, when the main idea seems divided, ask yourself, what problem is being discussed? What answer or explanation is being given? What sentence can combine both ideas clearly? This is how readers turn separate clues into one clear conclusion. A bridging inference connects one sentence to another. Sometimes authors do not explain every relationship directly. They expect readers to build the bridge. For example, Kevin forgot to set his alarm. He arrived at work 30 minutes late. The author does not say, because Kevin forgot to set his alarm, he woke up late and arrived late. But we understand this connection. We infer a cause and effect relationship here. The forgotten alarm probably caused Kevin to arrive late. This is a bridging inference. When you read, ask, how does this sentence connect to the sentence before it? The relationship may be cause and effect, contrast, example, explanation, comparison, or problem and solution. This question helps you follow the author's thinking. In detective language, a bridging inference is the connection between two clues. One clue may not explain everything by itself, but when you connect it to the next clue, the meaning becomes clearer. An implied main idea is a main idea that is suggested but not directly stated. Sometimes the author gives many supporting details but never says the main point directly. In that case, readers must infer the main idea. Let's look at this example.
People in different parts of the United States use different words for the same things. In Rhode Island, a drink made with milk and syrup may be called a milkshake, even though it contains no ice cream. In other places, a long sandwich may be called a sub, hero, or poor boy. A soft drink may be called soda, tonic, or pop, depending on the region.
What is the implied main idea? The paragraph is not only milkshakes. It is not about sandwiches. It is not only about sodas. Those are examples. The larger point is different regions may use different names for the same foods and drinks. This is the implied main idea. Here's the strategy. First, look at all the details. Second, ask what they have in common. And third, write one sentence that explains the larger point. A good implied main idea must cover all the major details in the paragraph. After you infer a main idea, you need to test it. So ask yourself, does my inference fit all the details? Is it too broad? Is it too narrow? Does it stay close to the paragraph? Let's return to the original language paragraph. The following sentence is too narrow. People in Rhode Island use the word milkshake differently. That is true, but it only covers one example. Now, the next sentence is going to be too broad. Language is confusing. Why? Because that is too general. Now, the next sentence is going to give us a stronger main idea. Different regions may use different names for the same food and drinks. This is strong because it covers the whole paragraph without going too far beyond the evidence. A strong inference is like a strong detective conclusion. It explains the evidence without inventing extra facts. Remember this: no evidence, then no inference. Readers do not only infer main idea, they also infer supporting details. Sometimes the author gives a detail but not fully explain why it matters. The reader must supply the missing connection. For example,
children who understand emotions often have parents who discuss feelings with them. These parents act as coaches.
The author does not explain the comparison completely, but we can infer that parents are like coaches because they teach, guide, model, and help children practice emotional understanding. That inference helps us understand the supporting detail. Without the inference, the word coaches may seem unclear. With the inference, the relationship now makes sense. This is another example of reading like a detective. The word coaches is the clue. The context tells us what the author is not talking about sports. The author is talking about guidance, teaching, and emotional development. Sometimes readers must infer the meaning from specific words based on context. For example, the words rewards and costs usually sound financial. We may think of money, but in a paragraph about relationships, rewards and costs may have emotional meanings. A reward may be affection, trust, support, or happiness. A cost may be stress, conflict, disappointment, or emotional pain. The reader must use the paragraph's context to understand the correct meaning. This is another reason reading is like detective work. One word may seem simple, but the surrounding clues reveal what it really means. Now, let's practice. Listen to this short paragraph.
Lena checked the clock 3 times in 5 minutes. She tapped her pencil against the desk and kept looking toward the door. When the professor finally walked in with the graded essays, Lena sat up straight.
Pause the video and do 2 things. First, write one logical inference. Second, underline or list the clues that support your inference. Now, let's check. A logical inference is Lena is anxious or eager to receive her graded essay. What clues support this? Well, she checked the clock. She tapped her pencil. She looked toward the door. She reacts when the professor enters with the graded essays. Now, what would be an illogical inference? Lena failed the essay. Why is that illogical? Well, because the paragraph never tells us her grade. She may be nervous, but we do not know whether she failed or passed. A logical inference stays close to the evidence. Remember, no evidence, no inference. Here's one more example.
The city council meeting lasted 4 hours. Several residents complained about traffic, noise, and limited parking near the new shopping center. By the end of the meeting, the council delayed the final vote.
Pause the video and do 3 things. First, write one logical inference. Second, list the clues that support it. Third, write one conclusion that would go too far beyond the evidence. Now, let's check. A logical inference is the residents' concerns may have influenced the council's decision to delay the vote. What is the evidence? Residents complained about several problems. The meeting lasted 4 hours. The council delayed the vote. On the other side, a conclusion that goes too far would be the shopping center was canceled. Why is that illogical? Well, because the paragraph only says the vote was delayed, not canceled. Again, strong readers do not jump beyond the evidence. Now, you would ask yourself, why does this skill matter? Inference is essential in college reading. Textbooks, articles, essays, and exams often expect you to understand implied meaning. You may see questions such as, what can be inferred from the paragraph? What does the author suggest? What is the implied main idea? Which conclusion is best supported by the passage? What relationship exists between these ideas? These questions are not asking you to memorize words. They are asking you to think. When you make logical inferences, you move from reading the words to understanding the meaning, and that is what college reading requires. Let's review what we've learned today. An inference is a conclusion based on evidence. It helps readers understand what the author suggests but does not directly state. A logical inference is supported by the text, while an illogical inference is not supported by the text and may come from personal opinions, assumptions, and going too far beyond the paragraph. Readers use inferences in many ways. They connect pronouns to antecedents, combine information from several sentences, infer implied main ideas, understand supporting details, and figure out relationship between ideas. The most important strategy is the 3-step method. Step 1. Find the clues, which is look for important words, details, examples, transitions, and repeated ideas. Step 2. Connect the evidence, which is ask how the clues work together and what larger meaning they suggest. Step 3. Test your conclusion. Make sure your inference fits the whole paragraph and does not go beyond the evidence. So when you read, think like a detective. Find the clues, connect the evidence, test your conclusion. And remember, the most important rule: no evidence, well, no inference. Next time you read a paragraph, remember this. The author may not give you every answer directly. Sometimes the meaning is hidden in the clues. Your job is to investigate carefully, connect the evidence, and make a logical inference. That is how strong readers move from simply reading words to truly understanding meaning. If this lesson helped you understand inference more clearly, please like the video, subscribe to the channel for more reading and writing lessons. Also, leave me a comment below and answer the question, what clue do you usually look for first when trying to understand what an author is suggesting? Your answer may help other students read more confidently. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next lesson. Take care.